I've covered some weird stories on this channel before, but this is some next level Da Vinci Code, Assassin's Creed, motherfucker taken by aliens type shit. Hey everybody, how's it going? I'm Izzy and this is the Izzy Nobre Show. I know I start a lot of these videos by saying you probably heard about this by now, but... well, you probably heard about this by now. This is the story of a Brazilian dude who vanished and left behind some stuff that's confusing my entire country. For a story like this, I feel like we need a little bit more gravitas, so let's try something different. Oh shit! We got production values up in here! Alright, maybe too much production values, just back up a bit. Let's ease up on the black and white. Just you know what? No black and white. And the music is a little too ominous. It's a little too satanic. Let's just, you know what? Let's just do it the usual way. Alright, so here's the story. Bruno Borges, and yes, that's the actual Brazilian pronunciation of his name, was a 24-year-old psychology student from the state of Acre. Here's what you need to know about Brazilians in the state of Acre. We sometimes joke that it's pretty disconnected from the rest of civilization. We refer to it sometimes as some faraway, mysterious land where weird shit happens. Acre is the butt of a lot of jokes. There's even a cultural running gag that the state doesn't actually exist. So when the news first broke and we saw that it happened in Acre, a lot of us were a little skeptical right off the bat. Before we even found out about the weird stuff, we already thought it was an internet hoax. Anyway, back to Borges. So this dude was last seen by his family on March 27th. His parents had recently come home from a 3-week-long trip, and from what I could gather, he put together most, if not all, of what you're about to see in that period. So here's the timeline. The parents go away on their little vacation or whatever, and this guy locks himself in his room. He was already a pretty withdrawn kid, and everybody knew that he was into like some philosophical stuff, but he was mostly left to his own devices. So the parents come back from this trip, Borges finally emerges out of his room, says hi to the family, and just pieces out. His dad was the last person who saw him. Trying to figure out where the kid might have gone, they go into his room, and this is what they found there. Bruno had apparently been hard at work writing 14 handwritten books. Now, a few of these were written before his parents went away on this trip. So his mother was actually aware that he was working on some kind of literature. Not to this extent, though. The text in the books appear to be written in some sort of code, and the walls of his room were also covered in text written in the same code. As you can see in the video, there's all this weird code, and there's a bunch of occult symbols and alien pictures and shit. And perhaps what's the weirdest thing about this, there is a huge fucking Giordano Bruno statue in the middle of his room. No furniture, his furniture's all gone, just the fucking statue. Giordano Bruno, for those who don't know, was a 17th century friar slash philosopher who was actually burned at the stake by the Catholic Church for heresy. The guy was apparently obsessed with Giordano Bruno, and he actually spoke about finishing his work. Hell, some would say he even looked like the guy. From the videos we can see that under the statue there's a human transmutation circle, which is from some anime or whatever. This part is kind of disappointing because I thought we're dealing with some present day witchcraft type shit, and it turns out the kid's just a weeaboo. Apparently this dude sold a bunch of his shit in a hurry to bankroll this little project. This is corroborated, at least in part, by a post some internet detectives found where he was listing his 80-inch LCD TV for sale for half of what it was worth. This is kind of funny because in my day, when people were selling their shit in a hurry on the cheap, it was usually for crack money. This guy was doing it to communicate with aliens? I don't fucking know. Mind you, while his parents were away on that trip, his siblings knew that he was up to something in his room, but he wouldn't let anybody in there. Now here's the interesting part. Some enterprising minds were able to parse through the text based on videos you can see on YouTube, and they cracked part of the code, and we actually know what Bruno was writing. We have some insight into his philosophical stylings. You know what? Let's do this. Satan me up again. Let's do this. The difficult path. For thousands of years, the human being has attempted to find answers to questions such as, what's the meaning of life? This philosophy, which according to all we can find started with Thales of Miletus roughly around 700 BC, aims to find vestiges of unanswered questions. Deep search of the absolute truth comes from philosophy, and when we speak of easy or difficult paths, we refer to this type of theorem. That's kind of boring, actually. Not as insightful as I was expecting. Okay, so what are the theories on this? Theory number 1. kidnapping. The family's pretty wealthy. His father is actually a well-known businessman in the city. So maybe somebody snatched up the kid for ransom money. While this may sound outrageous, for-profit kidnapping is still relatively common in Brazil. This I find unlikely because nobody made any contact with the police, there's no demands. They probably would not be advertising this as much if this was a ransom situation. I'm no kidnapper, but my understanding is that they try to keep this shit on the down low. Theory number 2, outright hoax. Maybe someone coordinated this to be some kind of viral advertisement for a movie or a book or a game or whatever. This I find unlikely as well. I've been balls deep into this story for what feels like forever now, and I found no evidence that this is staged. Not only that, but local police have issued statements saying that they are looking into this matter. They are trying to find this kid. So if this is some kind of hoax, somebody's probably gonna go to jail for this. Theory number 3, which I find more likely. This guy is a weird one, so maybe he just left for some spiritual retreat. Maybe there's nothing super sinister about this at all. The guy just went into one of these jungle hippie communes where they practice ayahuasca rituals and shit. Or maybe he just opened a portal into the past and fulfilled his destiny of becoming the man we know today as Giordano Bruno. They kind of look similar, right? Anyway, I honestly don't know what this could be, but I welcome you to try to figure this out. Who knows where the kid is? At the time of this recording, there's no new developments in this story, but I'm sure we're gonna hear something the next few days. But anyway, that's all the time I have for today. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing. I cover these weird stories all the time here. And yeah, I'm Izzy and I'm done. You know, it just occurred to me that I'm gonna sound like a real dick if this kid turns up dead tomorrow. Yikes.